Chapter 7, Zoey. When we arrived in a small town in Canada, the snow fell silent, but the noise of the silence in the car and the coolness between us was greater than what was happening outside. It had been in the middle of the night when we entered the quiet little town of Burnsville. I woke from a light beaming on my face after driving through miles of darkness. I looked up and saw one street light. Oh great! I thought. This was a small town indeed. I wondered how long I would have to live with Sebastian here in this isolated village. And under the circumstances, we didn't talk much to each other. We didn't even like each other, I thought. He wasn't the kind of man I would like. I was looking for something, but nothing like him. A brooding, gloomy, miserable, authoritative man I didn't need. I had enough gloom and doom in my personality to last a lifetime. However, if I were looking for a man to make me feel safe, he was the one. I felt too safe. I was like choking on safe. When we first started this ride, he said when we got to Burnsville, I would have to pretend to be his wife. Why can't we be brother and sister? I asked after turning that over in my mind, the entire 4 hours of travel. Because we can't. He had raised his voice at me for the first time, and it was unsettling. I didn't like that, and I didn't like him being dominating. I glanced at him. Just what was his problem, I thought, as I took a good look at him? Why was he so grumpy? He's a handsome enough guy. He probably has women all over him, if he would just smile for once. Maybe when he's had a good fuck, he will be more agreeable. But something is messing with his mind, and I'd like to know what. Taking a good look at him, I chuckled at the thought. Maybe if he'd just lighten up, someone could get near him and want to fuck him. I bet he wouldn't know what to do with it, I thought as I smiled to myself. What? He said. Why are you so happy? Someone has to be. You're not exactly Amy Schumer, or Jerry Seinfeld, or Kevin Hart. I watched his face change, totally confused. Just as I thought. Who are those people? And what's so funny that you have to laugh? The reason I sound short is because I didn't think you would be so combative when I said I was trying to protect you. I thought maybe you would be grateful. Grateful for what? For you and your family kidnapping me off the street and holding me hostage while you did who knows what to me. I would never touch you. I would kill anyone who would have tried to harm you. I frowned at him and bit my lip. See, it's what you say and do that makes me angry. All I'm trying to do is help you. The passport says you're married. I wasn't thinking when I had those made. You're a stay-at-home mom, and I have a clinic. If I'm a stay-at-home mom? I turned to him, then where are the children? I mean wife. I don't want my wife to work. That's what I told the townspeople who hired me. You can work in the clinic alongside me if you need to get out of the house. That's great. What are you, some kind of animal doctor, like a veterinarian? I'm a general practitioner. Meaning you are a doctor. When did you become a doctor? I asked him with a look of disbelief. How can someone go around saying they're a doctor? Don't they need to know something about medicine, I thought. When you became a nurse. But I'm not a nurse. But I am a doctor. Who do you think took care of you those months you were in a coma? He drove up this driveway on a hill and pulled up to a house hidden by trees, and the house was just beautiful. It stood off in the middle of a forest surrounded by high pine trees, blocking out what little sun existed. You couldn't see the house if you were driving on the highway. You couldn't see that house if a plane passed over. It was in a secluded and expensive part of town where houses were divided by acres and acres of land. Maybe that was an understatement. I don't know how anyone could afford a house like that in any part of town. Do we need something that large with just you and me? And can you afford it? He smiled now. There will be children, he said to me with a grin. And he hit a button and drove into an underground parking garage which had spots for several cars, but he only had one. Sebastian helped me out of the SUV and led me to an elevator which took us to the first floor. How many floors do you have here? It's our home and we have 4. You need to know that, but don't tell anyone. But it only says 3 on the elevator, I said curiously. Why not say 4 floors, I wondered, and as if he could read my mind he answered. That's because it's there to confuse those who are looking for you, and looking to harm you and me. I won't allow that to happen. You never told me why someone is looking for me, or want to harm me. I said I can't remember anything after I was taken home to my parents. It's like someone erased my memory of that time. Sebastian turned to me and stared. I'll reveal everything to you, but it will come later. You must be hungry. He took my hand, and when the elevator opened, he led me out. I remembered the feeling that came over me whenever he touched me. His hands were cold, but it was like they were heated like dry ice. I felt the scorch, yet I wasn't burned. The heat rippled under my skin, and I felt the heat of sexual desire flush through me. I felt aroused, as if he had been making love to me. It was all in my mind. And for that moment, I enjoyed being close to him. My mind had been tormenting me lately. Since I woke up from the coma, I have felt different. Since that accident where I had been in a coma, I've been having dreams and visions of my childhood. But nothing I could remember past waking up. This is your room. Sebastian opened the door. I had walked through the house and up the stairs with Sebastian holding my hand, and never saw the house and saw only him. When he dropped my hand, my body still craved his touch. I could now see the room which he called mine. The furnishing was modern with chrome and glass. The house of steel and glass structure, which looked as if it had leaves painted on it, hiding it in plain sight. A camouflage in the middle of a forest and hidden from the world, and I was to be a prisoner in this house with Sebastian, and I knew nothing about him, except he thought that he had to protect me from someone, but I didn't know whom. All I knew, it had to do with his family and me being a child when all this started. What? We don't sleep together? I said as a joke because the bed was a single bed. Just as I thought, he didn't have a sense of humor. His face turned pale and stone-like. When are you going to drop that sour look? I've known you a few days, and all you've greeted me with is a stone face. Lighten up, you might live longer, I said to him, and he raised an eyebrow. When you're safe, then I will relax and we will go our separate ways. My room is next door, but never come into it unless you let me know first. I will work at night and sleep during the day. I glanced at him with a raised eyebrow. I'm a night person too. I thought you said you were a day person. Well, that does it, we're certainly not compatible. We won't be marrying any too soon. And if opposites attract, then we will have a short future. I stay up at night and sleep during the day, and therefore I will be up with you. I can go to the clinic and help you, I said, anything to get out of the house. Although I couldn't have dreamed of a place like this, I said, looking around. I don't need any help. I have a doctor who I can call if it gets busy. Somehow I felt slighted, as if he didn't want me around. I turned away from him. Sulking again. Fine, come to the clinic. Who will do the chores during the day? Like buying groceries, he said. We can go together like a married couple when we close the clinic. It will do well for the town people to see how happy we are, I said, making another joke. "Does this town look like they have any place to shop at night?" he said quick and with an annoyed tone. "Well, you won't be busy every day. You will have some days off." He watched me with hooded eyes. "Very well. I'll make do. I don't eat very much." I jumped into the bed and sat up. I kicked off my boots, which had been bothering me all day. I took it upon myself to stock the place with food for a year. That's how long I expect us to be here, before they catch up with us. A whole year. I have to be stuck with you pretending I'm your wife for a year, I whined. I don't particularly like you. You're not my favorite person either. I frowned. He had hurt my feelings. I guess I hurt him, but he acted so cold that I didn't think he had feelings to hurt. "Show me the kitchen," I said, jumping to my feet. "I want to cook us something to eat." "What do you want?" "Nothing. I'm not hungry." I took his hand. I liked holding on to his hand. He looked down at me. It was the only time he acted as if he was human. The warmth of his cold hands bothered me, and I didn't know why. It just didn't seem natural for him to be so cold to the touch. This was the first time I saw warmth in his face. "Let's go." "Which way to the kitchen?" He dropped my hand and walked down the stairs and made a left, and opened the door to a luxurious kitchen. Wow. With something this fancy you need servants. We can't have people around. You may not be able to have them, but I need someone besides you in my life. He stopped in front of the kitchen aisle and stared at me as if I had just stabbed him. "It's for your own good," he said with a quiet voice. "How do I know that? How do I know you're not trying to take advantage of me? I know nothing about you, and you won't tell me anything, except you will tell me later, and this is for your own good," I said, mocking him. "In the meantime, I need something to eat and I need to make friends." "You never had but one, and that was Terry." He shot back. How did he know that? He must have been stalking me. I was too hungry to confront him. I would save that for later. By saying him mentioning Terry reminded me of her, and how I last saw her all pale and lifeless. I didn't want to think about her, and how she died. I was trying to put that out of my mind. Months went by since I was in a coma, and I thought my ability to forget had cured me of my pain. I didn't understand what that monster had done to her, and Sebastian wouldn't explain it. I stood looking at him, and my breathing grew loud. For some reason I couldn't speak, but tears fell from my eyes. Grabbing onto a chair, I felt weak and didn't want to cry, but I couldn't hold back the tears. They fell hard and easy, and as I tried to pass my hand over my eyes, the water pooled on my cheeks. I lowered my head and brushed my hand over my nose. Then I felt a cool hand and a pull. I had my head buried in Sebastian's chest, and I was drooling and crying on his cold body. His hand brushed over my hair twice. The gesture was a comforting one, and the tears stopped. "Don't cry. I'll be here and take care of you." I had heard those words before. Soft and gentle. It didn't come from my mother. It came from someone who saw a scared 5-year-old and held me to keep me from crying. Was this the voice I heard in my dreams? I tried to dismiss it. How could that be, because Sebastian wasn't but a few years older than me now, and then how could he become a doctor and work in a clinic? But then he wasn't a doctor. I inhaled and moved away from his comforting chest. It was all in my silly mind. I couldn't trust my mind, since I had an accident. But that wasn't an accident. There was a fight between Sebastian and his brother, and because I didn't run fast enough, they plowed into me and bang, I hit Terry's car. Right into the bumper. I always thought that car was a piece of junk, but it didn't give when those two strong men fell on me, and I was pinned under the wheel. That I do remember up until I blacked out and woke months later. I'm all right. I'll cook something. I tried to sound as if I had it all together, but I was fraying at the seams. One hanging piece of thread, you can't help but pull at it, and if someone dared pull, I would disintegrate into nothing. I felt Sebastian watching at me as I walked to the large double-door fridge and opened it. Just what a growing girl needs. Frozen pizza. I turned to him and smiled and trotted with a smile intact and humming and popped it into the microwave. Seconds later, I had a fresh pizza pie. I took it out and found a soda in the back of the fridge. Holding those back, are you? I said, showing him the can of cola. They're bad for you. What's happening to me now is bad for me. Not a pizza and cola. That's good for me. I took a large bite. I'd prefer a beer, but I don't see any beer in here. If you want me to stay here, you will have to buy me some beer, or I might be tempted to go to a bar. Now you wouldn't want that? Are you threatening me? Yes. You bet. If I have to stay here with you and don't have friends and spend a year around sick people, then I need something to make this a little easier. I've never known you to drink. My eyes left the pizza and gazed up at him. What do you know about me? What I've gone through from meeting you will make anyone a drinker. So if you want peace in here, then get me something to calm my nerves. He stared long at me with his bluish-green stone-fur eyes, and then he made a fluid, swift turn as if he was a dancer, and out of the kitchen he strode sulking. Glancing at his quick departure, I opened the door to see him headed up the stairs, and I shouted, as I bit into another heavenly piece of pizza, and drank my cola, "This isn't easy for me, and it will not be for you. So get over it." There was no way he could have heard me, but the next evening when he departed his room, I gave him more of the same. Chapter 8, Zoey. I passed his room once I woke after trying to sleep, but too many cokes and caffeine had me up most of the night and day, and now I was feeling drowsy. I guess that worked out fine. I won't accompany him to the clinic tonight. Looking at the clock, it's 7 p.m. Stepping lightly down the stairs, I marveled at the beauty of this home. If I could furnish it, it would be more beautiful than it is now. After all, I am a doctor's wife, and if he expects me to welcome the townspeople, it should have furniture. Reaching the kitchen, I didn't expect to see him sitting in a chair at the aisle in the kitchen staring into space. "What are you doing?" "Waiting for you. I have to go to the clinic tonight. Tonight is my first night, and the way you look, you're not ready to go with me." "I can go. I don't want you to say I didn't carry my weight. I want to work. I need to do something or I will go crazy." "How about during the day, you try to spread goodwill with the people in the town? It's expected of a physician's wife," he said, angling his head to the side. "What doctor are you talking about?" I glanced around as if I'm looking for someone. "Me, of course. If you can't play the part," he said, angry and taking large breaths. "You're going to get someone else, I suppose." "Your threats don't work on me," I said. "What will work?" "How about telling me what we're running from, and who's likely to show up to harm me? Maybe then I might be less hostile and want to cooperate with you." "I think I said in due time I will tell you." He stood. I walked in front and planted my feet and looked into his beautiful face, put my hands on my hips and stood in his path. He reached for me, held me by the arms and lifted me and placed me on the side. He shot me a closed smile and headed for the door. "You can't bully me. I won't be put off. I've been through hell and I won't stand for you sidelining me like I don't exist," I said. Sebastian kept walking, and I followed behind him, carping about everything I didn't like about him and the house. You need to tell me something if you want me to remain here." He turned, and for the first time I peeked into his soul. His eyes fixed on me, and his jade eyes turned to stone, and I became frightened. Had I needled him, pricked at him to the point where he would show me this part of him? "You want to know? Then I'll tell you. You don't know what you're dealing with. There are men," no, that's a stretch, he took a full breath, "to say men will come for you and they will destroy you, and they will kill you in ways you can't imagine, and then try to destroy me because I haven't killed you yet or changed you, is to speak mild. You just don't know." Touching him, I said, "What do you mean, change me?" "I have to get to the hospital. I don't like to be late." He looked at his watch. "You can't go. I need to know more." "Why do you need to know? All that will do is make you more nervous, and you will do things you shouldn't do." He kept walking, and got into the elevator, and took it down to the garage. I stood breathing hard and questioning everything. I needed to eat, so I walked back to the kitchen to see if there was anything I could cook. Once again, nothing that wouldn't give me a heart attack at an early age, but what the hell, the way Sebastian talked, I'm a walking corpse anyway. Opening a can of chili, I ate that with some crackers, and trotted out of the kitchen to take a bath. My life was upside down, and my body clock was fucked up. As I was getting ready to climb the stairs, I saw a figure of a woman standing outside the front door. She rang the bell and I turned. From her silhouette, she looked pretty. Her hair long, and she wore a dark dress and boots. When I opened the door, she stood with a wide smile plastered across her face. She had a plate in her hand, and saran wrap covering what looked like a plate of brownies. My eyes stayed on the brownies for a while. I needed some sugar. When Sebastian stalked the house, he conveniently forgot cookies, candy, and ice cream. To hell with what's good for me. "Does Dr. Sebastian live here?" she asked with a soft accent. I think she must have been English, but I wasn't sure. "Yes, he does. Please come in." She walked 2 steps into the foyer, turned her nose up as if she smelled something rancid, and didn't go any further. "I'm not going to be here long. I would like to welcome Dr. Sebastian to our little town. I mean, I'd like to welcome you and him," she said, looking around. She was a beautiful-looking woman with dark hair and black eyes. She wore a dark dress with a shawl covering her, and a pair of black boots. "Are you his wife?" I stumbled a bit with my answer, but I managed to get it out. "Yes, of course," I said as my eyes measured her. "I envy you. Your husband is so handsome and young for a doctor." She had a sparkle in her eyes as she described him, which was a bit unsettling because she was in her 20s, which worried me more. "Are you married?" I asked her. "I haven't been as fortunate as you. In a town like this, all the young men leave to go to a city, and all we're left with are the middle-aged and elderly. We are fortunate to have Dr. Sebastian here with us." She shot me a wide closed smile. Then she remembered that she had a plate in her hand. It was filled with brownies. "Oh, here. I almost forgot to give these to you." She appeared nervous but delighted when she handed me the plate. Taking it from her hands, I was happy to get some freshly baked sweets. Clearly, Sebastian hadn't loaded the kitchen up with cookies and potato chips. Not good for me. Happy to get the gift, I asked her, "Do you want to come in and talk, maybe eat a few of the brownies with me?" "Sorry, but I can't. I have to go. There's something I need to take care of." She gave me a wide smile with her beautiful white teeth, and looked at the brownies again as she walked to the door. I walked with her. She opened it and stood on the outside and said, "I hope you enjoy them, and tell Sebastian that Samantha stopped by when you see him." I watched as she walked down the steps, and it occurred to me that I hadn't seen a car. Maybe she parked it down the path instead of the driveway leading up to the house, but why would she do that? I wouldn't be caught dead walking down that path if I didn't have to. And I didn't get any information from her. I think I was taken aback by her brazen nature, and how she appeared to salivate when asking about Sebastian. Just her very nature put me off. I could see her going to his office, wanting him to examine her. Walking back to the kitchen to put the brownies in the fridge to eat later, I decided to dump the plate in the garbage pail. There, I said. No one's going to eat your stupid brownies. You probably brought them for Sebastian and not me. That was just an excuse to see him, bitch, I murmured to myself. And I dumped them into the garbage, with the saran wrap tightly covering them. Oh. I forgot. I needed a bath, and I turned and headed for the stairs after locking the door behind Samantha. What kind of name is that? I mumbled. I wouldn't be answering the door, or letting in any nosy hot young women who really want to get a look at Sebastian, I thought. I passed Sebastian's room and saw another door. Opening it, I decided to peek in. There, I found one of the largest tubs in a bathroom that connected to my room. Stepping into the bath after turning on the cold water, I eased myself down and exhaled. Throwing my head back, I closed my eyes to think about what had just happened. A woman shows up at your door at 8 at night, looking for your husband with a plate of brownies in her hand. Her entire discussion is about how handsome my husband is. He's not my fucking husband, and I doubt that will happen, I murmur. When I open my eyes and reach for a towel, standing looking down at me is Sebastian. What are you doing here? And how did you get in here without me seeing or hearing you? That's not important. Did you eat any of Samantha's brownies? What kind of question is that, and how did you know her name is Samantha? And what the fuck are you doing looking at me, naked? And no, I didn't eat any of her fucking brownies. She probably brought them to you, not me. Which question do you want me to answer first? He said. How about why are you looking at me naked in this tub? I have seen naked bodies before. Who do you think took you home and washed you and took care of you as you lay in a coma for all those months? It was me. I've seen and I know every freckle on your body. You have one between. Stop it. I don't want to know if you did anything to me while I was unconscious. I don't want to be confronted by a necromancer. I think you used the word wrong, he said. Never fucking mind. How do you know Samantha? He didn't say anything at first, as if he was measuring how much he needed to tell me. He walked over to the linen closet and pulled out the largest towel I'd ever seen, and held it to the side as he turned his back to me. Turning to face me, he placed a towel on my hair and wiped it. That was a memory I had when I was a child. Someone bathing me and then drying my hair. The touch of his hand was so light and loving that I thought it was my mother's hand. But it wasn't. His hands gave me the same feeling I received as a young child, and I became confused. Looking at him, all the hostility I once felt faded with his touch. What is this about, Sebastian? Why are you here and not at the clinic? Because I can't leave you for 2 minutes without you putting yourself in harm's way. Didn't I tell you not to answer the door? I walked away from him. Just when I warmed up to him, he becomes aggressive. No, you didn't. You just said I would be safe here, and that I should make myself known to the people in this town. So I did. I gritted my teeth at him. She's not from here, he said, standing in front of me. How the fuck should I know? I looked up at him, and he appeared to smile, and then he calmed. No. I guess you wouldn't know. I walked away from him and walked into my bedroom, and sat on the bed, and crossed my arms in defiance. He sat near me with his mouth open and blowing out a large breath through his white teeth. His mouth distracted me. With him being near me distracted me to no end. His closeness made me warm as if we were in an embrace. "Do you drink coffee or tea?" I asked him. I didn't know what to say to him. That was to distract me from craving his touch. "No." "Thought so. No one with perfect white teeth like yours ever ate or drank things that weren't good for them. Do you at least drink wine or beer?" I was trying to relax him and myself, where he could tell me about Samantha. "I know what you're doing." I'm glad he knew because I didn't. "I have to tell you about Samantha. Things I think you shouldn't know I won't tell you," he said, his voice low as if he expected someone to hear him. I shifted to face him. "But why?" I asked in a small whining voice. "Why won't you tell me everything?" "Because you can be harmed by knowing these things." His look trailed off. He no longer looked me in the eyes, but he was somewhere I couldn't follow. "And I can be harmed by not knowing too," I said, trying to get his attention. "That's true, but there are things your mind can't grasp or understand. How about telling me and let me decide?" He leaned over and kissed my lips. I felt my heart beating wildly. I wasn't aware he would affect me the way he was doing. His kiss warm and gentle. He grabbed my shoulders and brought me to him. I heard his breath. I heard a moan. I heard the silence in the room, and I heard the loud beat of one heart. That heart was mine.